What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges with you at a special hour this evening. We'll be back for 9:30, of course, for the main Monday through Friday show. But we are tracking the thunderstorms that are moving through Central Florida tonight. Things are a little more tame at this hour than they were a couple of hours ago. But just want to continue to watch a few things over the next really hour or less. Things are improving big time. I was most concerned with this evening, northern Brevard County. That is where we had big time flooding last night. Of course, also in Lake County, but the heaviest rain that was going to pile up today was also going to be in northern Brevard County. It looks like right now we don't have any additional flash flood warnings in play. I'm not seeing any reports. If anybody is living in Mims or Scottsmore or Titusville on Merritt Island, let me know if you see anything when you can do so safely. We still have a few of these downpours and thunderstorms on shore, but they are moving out. So some good news there. You see on the active alert section above my head, we have 3 flood alerts in play, either flood advisories or flood warnings, and then 1 special weather statement for this rock and thunderstorm here. So there is where that special weather statement is. That includes Mims, Port St. John. We're done now. We are done with that bad weather. We have the heaviest or the strongest part of this storm pretty much right over Kennedy Space Center at this time. Also, looping below me is the radar image. So, if I'm on a different part of Central Florida at the time, you can keep up with that as we track these storms. And then I also have the tropical tracker if you're interested on Melissa. Did not get to spend a lot of time on Melissa during the show because we, of course, had much bigger fish to fry in Central Florida. If you're interested, I am planning a live stream at 8 o'clock on our Just Weather page. That's going to be at just underscore weather. Um, and we're going to go in depth when it comes to Hurricane Melissa that continues to strengthen at this hour. So, a lot to talk about tonight, but for the next about 10, 15 minutes, we're going to hang out here as we break down um, what's going on in Central Florida. Of course, last night, the crazy rainfall amounts. If you are unaware, we had anywhere up to 20 inches of rainfall in parts of Lake County. There we go with the storms moving through Deer Park and Holopah. These are leaving St. Cloud, although we still have some rain around. Um, this is Holopah right here. There's some of the heavy rain that's moving over. This should be gone quick. I'll put the loop back on this for you. And you see that right there, kind of moving from west to east. Kenansville tonight, we have the downpours moving through. That's probably the heaviest rain that we have across Central Florida now, moving just over the turnpike into the Kenansville. If you're familiar with that rest stop on the turnpike right through there, it is getting soaked tonight. Yeehaw Junction, we have some extra development popping back up. That's going to be in town. We have a couple of downpours in town now, but the most widespread stuff is moving in from west to east. That green shaded color on your screen, that is the flood watch that will continue until about 8 o'clock tonight. So about an hour left of the flood watch. We are going to clear things out drastically through Central Florida. Where we have some extra development and this continues to weaken, and you would expect that in the situation that we've kind of gotten ourselves into with the atmosphere being worked over by a lot of thunderstorms moving through. And speaking of thunderstorms, we do have some reports hot off the press. Looks like Cape Canaveral, we have a 51-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Okay, that one is down. I was checking to see if that was elevated. So that one is that one's an elevated sensor. So obviously it's going to be stronger winds the higher it's elevated. We had 50-mile-per-hour winds come through Bartow and Polk County a little bit ago as it kind of slides through, but no severe thunderstorm warnings. Certainly no tornado warnings right now. Special weather statement. That means that we have a nasty thunderstorm out there, but it's likely just under the threshold of damaging. And then on the flood side of things, we have 3 of those in play, a flash flood warning and then 2 flood advisories. The flash flood warnings are the big one. This is where we have the flash flood warning. This is going to go until 7:30 tonight. I'm optimistic that things are okay. We had about 3 to 4 inches fall just south of Winter Garden and right kind of near the Disney attraction areas. Um, that's where we have the flash flood warning right now. Um, that should go for another 30 minutes. I've not heard of any reports coming out of there. So that is certainly some good news. No storm reports coming in from that flash flood warned area. So I'm optimistic that we're going to get through that flash flood warning without much fanfare. But 3 to 4 inches fell in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So all of that stuff. So I'm going to zoom things back out now and show you where we have the most intense stuff. And it's relative. We are watching things kind of pipe down a little bit. So certainly some good news, but the most intense, again, relatively speaking, hanging around the Florida Turnpike around Kenansville. That's going to push from west to east tonight. So heads up in Melbourne, Palm Bay, Malabar, Grand Falcaria, into Mico. That's where I'm watching for you guys. Where we had the biggest flooding last night, and we can go back and show that over the last 24 hours, just insane amounts of rain around these areas. Just insane. We had up to 20 inches of rainfall around Eustis and Mount Dora last night. These are rainfall radar estimates. Again, it's kind of cutting off the first half of the event. But that's over the last 24 hours. In total, we had about 20 inches of rainfall there, and that was ground truth from rain gauges, 19.2, I believe, 19.8 in Eustis, something like that. And then we had the big rain event right along the coast when it comes to right now. So let me get back to the actual radar. Let me turn my interaction bar back on, and we're going to take things back out into the actual radar land. So Melissa, I think we're done with storms. I don't know that we're done with. We have some downpours. We have some light rain coming in to your west in New Smyrna Beach. So I think you're done with the storms, but some light rain, maybe about an hour away. So there's still some rain coming in as the front itself starts to push through, or the leading edge of stuff ahead of the front starts to get through. But the most positive thing that I can say tonight is that the heaviest stuff that we've been tracking in the most flood prone areas with respect to what happened last night um, is winding down tonight. So we're going to hang out until about 7 o'clock, and then I'm going to go work on getting a live stream together for all things Hurricane Melissa. That is going to be on it's literally called Just Weather, on our Just Weather page. So if you're interested in that, you can hop on over there. And again, that is at just_weather. And we're going to go in depth with Melissa. I was mentioning before, I didn't get to spend a lot of time on Melissa because we were tracking the storms through Central Florida, and that was of my biggest concern for us. And I wanted to make sure that everybody got local coverage here when it comes to everything in with these storms coming through. That lightning you probably saw, it was down at Edgewater right there. There's the bolt. So still hanging on to a couple of lightning strikes tonight. So be careful. All right, we are getting some rainfall reports now coming in. Magic Kingdom, 2 miles north of Magic Kingdom, picked up 4.38 inches of rain. I'm just marking that down. And then you can see those reports. Those reports, by the way, are coming in real time. So I'm reading them just like you are, as it's kind of moving through. So wild couple of days. We'll talk much more about what the setup was last night to even get something like that. I know one of the most kind of heard comments I've seen was this is worse than a hurricane, and certainly it was. The rainfall rates were the big thing. I don't care who you are. I know there's infrastructure problems through Central Florida, but 19 inches of rain in 6 hours is crazy. That's a lot of rain in a short amount of time, and that is going to cause damage no matter what. So that threat is quickly winding down. The residual stuff we're going to be dealing with for quite some time, but that threat is going to certainly wind down quickly. I want to end this weather stream here with a look at the St. Johns River. Normally we're talking about Astor. That is the most flood prone part in the Central Florida area on the St. Johns. But because of where the heavy rain fell last night, it's going to make its way into the river. So St. Johns River above Lake Harney, we're expected to get in a flood stage tomorrow sometime in the afternoon, right at minor flood stage. And as we get into the St. Johns River at Astor, 3.1 feet, that's where the crest is expected. It might be higher beyond the weekend. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. A lot of talking today. But moderate flood stage, we just got out of it, and unfortunately, we're going to go back in it and stay there likely for a while as all that stuff from above Lake Harney and Geneva area and kind of flows back up the Sanford area. We're expected to get into minor flood stage as well. That's coming this upcoming weekend, Saturday, 11/1, November 1st already, getting into minor flood stage at 5.5 feet. So watching you guys in Sanford and then also on DeLand, we're expected to get into minor flood stage by the end of this work week, likely around Friday, late Thursday into Friday, with a crest of about 4.1 feet just above minor flood stage on the St. Johns River at DeLand. So last night was more of the flash flood. This is now the slow river flood that we're going to turn our attention to. Cool shot here, by the way, in Port Canaveral. One of the cruise ships is leaving. I'm not sure which one that is. I don't know what cruise ship that is, but it's a cool shot there at Port Canaveral. We were watching it for the heavy rain and clouds. But a cool shot there, one of the cruise ships leaving. I do not know. That might be Carnival, but I think it's Carnival, but I can't tell. Anyway, not important. Let's see here. Okay, flash flood warning has been allowed to expire. So as we were talking about, I didn't think that we would observe anything too bad when we got the flash flood warning, but that was down here in Southwest Orange County. That has now been allowed to expire. So that's some good news. And I think going forward here, we have a lot of positive news as the downpours are fizzling out. The heaviest stuff is pushing away, and the ground was able to take, especially in the areas that got the major flooding last night, it was able to take it a little bit. Alrighty, guys, we are going to wrap this stream up. We've been hanging out for about, 20-some minutes together, give or take. And coming up at 8 o'clock, I'm going to get a live stream going on our Just Weather page. That's going to be at @just_weather. If you're interested in that, it's going to be all about Hurricane Melissa doing some wild things tonight. This is not going to be a good situation for our friends in Jamaica. There's no doubt going to be a Cat 5 landfall. It's just a matter of how strong is it going to be in that Cat 5 threshold. And right now, if you can see there on the hurricane loop, it has 175 mile per hour maximum sustained winds. Just wild stuff. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much. By the way, coming up at News 6 at 9, Ginger and Lisa on News 6 tonight, on News 6 Plus, and on the News 6 YouTube page. They're going to have the latest on the flooding. News 6 anchor Lisa Bell was out there in Lake County. She was on the ground with our community correspondent, Emily McLeod, too, and they were looking at some of the damage and asking, okay, what can be done in the future here? Because the one road they were talking about, as you guys know, if you live there, got flooded out just again with Milton. So now those poor people have to deal with that again. So we'll hear more from them and her experience and Lisa's experience out there at News 6 at 9. That's News 6 tonight, coming up at 9 o'clock. Then we have News 6 Weather Live with me at 9:30. We're going to do kind of a hybrid thing, talk about how this kind of rain happened, and we're going to take a look at the hurricane as well, because that's the other big story. So we're going to kind of do a split thing, and that's kind of what we've been doing lately, with Melissa being the big world weather story. So we're going to talk about that. And then, of course, coming up at News 6 at 10, we're going to have everything News 6 at 11 on the traditional broadcast. So I hope to see you guys all there. Again, coming up at 8 o'clock on the at Just Weather page, we're going to be talking about Hurricane Melissa for about 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending upon how long my voice can hold out on that page. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope everybody's doing well tonight that has had to deal with any of the flooding from last night. It was a lot. I hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody's doing well. We'll catch you soon. I'll catch you at News 6